So hi.
Hi.
So let me introduce myself. My name is Emilio Ulloa. At SDSU, I'm serving as the Director of Advising for the College of Sciences. I was a psychology professor for a while, and I still teach classes here and then. And I'm here with my friend, Dr. Randy Tim, who you've already met. And we're going to talk about Lifelines and a few other things that are relevant to your college experience. So thank you all.
Great. We'll go ahead and get started here.
So I want to welcome you to your first week on campus and welcome to your first university seminar. We hope that you're connecting to campus in your classes and welcome week activities and Aztec nights and in college shape. The first week can be both exciting and nerve-wracking as you try to find your way around a new campus and meet hundreds of new people. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to review the pre-session orientation folder and complete the pre-assessment survey and Blackboard quiz.
In class this week, you're going to meet your instructor, you're going to meet your mentors if it's provided in your university seminar, you're going to meet your new classmates and share your lifelines and discuss the syllabus for the class. If you attended in college shape, you participated in an activity that's called Lifelines. This activity serves as a way for you to learn about each other, our strengths, and our perspectives. If you created a lifeline in college shape, bring it with you to your first university seminar class. If you didn't create one, you will need to create one and bring it with you to class. So what's a lifeline? It's a depiction of your life designed by you. It can be a historical perspective in a simple drawing. It can be anything that you like. As you create your lifeline, consider where you come from, the challenges you've experienced, how you've surmounted those challenges, and the successes you've celebrated. These should reflect the events, the people, and places that you've made who are in your life today. We're going to show you our two lifelines, and then you'll be sharing yours in class. Before we share, we need to consider how we will share and how we will listen in class. In many ways, sharing our perspectives and our personal history is a moment of vulnerability. As we said in our pre-session recording, remember, you only share what you are comfortable with. You don't have to share any sensitive areas of your past, but we do hope that you'll challenge yourself to share and stretch yourself in this reflection.
So because people may be sharing personal moments and successes, consider practicing empathy while you listen. According to Daniel Goleman and Richie Davidson, empathy is the ability to understand why others are experiencing emotions at a deeper level. You might not only understand their emotions at a cognitive level, but you may also experience a genuine feeling for their emotional experience. In creating a collaborative learning environment, the skill of empathy is important. It's also known as perspective taking. To put these two parts of empathy into leadership practice, consider that the first part of this empathy process is called cognitive empathy, which is the ability to recognize what other people are thinking or feeling, and you personally understanding that they are experiencing it as a genuine experience. Good managers and leaders learn to understand other people's perspective. Emotional empathy goes deeper. The creator of the concept of servant leadership, Robert Greenleaf, described emotional empathy as the ability to imaginatively experience another person's feelings and understanding them personally. You may have heard people say, "I feel your pain." In many ways, that feeling is emotional empathy. The challenge with emotional empathy is that it can be physically draining to feel what other people feel. And this is what makes compassion so important. Compassion is something we value greatly around here at SDSU. And compassion includes the first two aspects of empathy, but also involves two additional components. One component is a desire to see another alleviated of their pain and suffering. And the final component of this is the willingness to do something that alleviates another's pain and suffering without bringing pain and suffering to oneself or anyone else.
For now, we invite you to practice empathy as empathy builds connection to others. In developing our small groups, actively listening and empathizing with others will help us create a supportive learning community. As you listen, you will find that we are all unique individuals, but we have similar experiences or common lessons that were learned from completely different experiences. While we are different, listen to find connection across our differences. These differences can provide us with important perspectives that broaden our own life experience, and in doing so, we learn from others. Later in the course, We will consider social and cultural identities as well as cultural and personal strengths. We all have them. Everybody comes from different backgrounds and cultures. We all learn in important ways to see the world through them. In fact, each family has its own mini culture. Identities are personal and help us understand ourselves in the context of our community and culture. So as you share your own personal identity, please know that this can be emotional and personal. Treat this time with respect. You'll remember it for years to come. Again, we will further discuss the concept of identity and culture later in the semester. For now, we hope that you will learn from each other and begin to create a supportive community. Many of you heard my personal lifeline during in college day. So let's share an abbreviated version of my own lifeline through a worksheet that you will also complete at the end of this video or at the end of your university seminar class. So my 5 areas of things that I talked about in my lifeline included growing up in a farming community. And because I grew up in a farming community, it instilled a work ethic that doesn't separate life and work. That can be both a good thing and a bad thing for me. I was also very involved in the marching band and the arts, and that really developed my passion for creativity, and I still find creativity in whatever I do in my work. I'm also a first-generation college student, and that taught me about persistence and resilience. There were times when I had no idea what I was supposed to do, but I sought out help from other people, and I found ways to answer my questions, and that really helped me figure that out for the rest of my life. I talked about the fact that I had a best friend who committed suicide, and that was a very challenging time for me. But I learned in that process that things aren't my fault, and I can't control everything, and I can't take responsibility for other people's behaviors. And then finally, supporting family through cancer. I've learned that my partner had cancer, and in that process, I've learned to take every moment with your family and carve out time for family to be very important to me. So in addition to being a hard worker, I have to make sure that I find times for those things that are important for me.
So this is my lifeline. And I do want to share a couple of things with you. So following the format that Dr. Tim here has, I'll talk about a few things that you'll see on the timeline. One thing for me was growing up in a border community. I grew up just north of the Mexicali border, and it's an agriculture community, and it's, as you imagine, there's a lot of Hispanics in that community. And for me, these were my formative years that helped me develop a sense of justice, what community means, family, and it was really a big part of the initial development of my own ethnic identity as a Chicano, as a Mexican American. The second thing you'll see on my lifeline is a picture of a trombone. I got involved in music, but it really became a big part of my life in high school. And for me, being in the marching band and being in the jazz band was something that really helped me overcome my own shyness and confidence issues, because these are things I struggled with very early in my life. This was a mechanism to really help me work through those issues. I also wrote Aztecs on there, and this sort of is a symbol for when I started my college experience at SDSU, by the way. For me, this was a big period of growth. I figured out how mentors work and what they can do for you, and how that doesn't mean you're less than. I learned about leadership through the clubs that I was involved with, in psychology and in music. I learned a sense of purpose. I really sort of reaffirmed what I wanted to do with my life when I was in college. Lots of personal growth, and again, further identity development, really understanding more what it meant to call myself Chicano. And then I headed off to grad school. And again, this was another big sort of turning point in my life, because I label it as becoming a scholar, because for me, it taught me how to be more focused, how to be more independent, and really what it means to be accountable for yourself, the work that you do, and what you put out there. And it was a big change for me in my life and how I had run my own life up until that point. And then at the end of this lifeline is more recently some symbols that represent the job that I achieved by going to grad school, coming back to SDSU, marriage, family, and a lot of these things have come together. And for me, this represents really striving to be a better person, a better man in society, and balance, and figuring out how to weave it all together in the best way possible.
So as you can see, Dr. Yu and I share some things that are in common, and there are some things that are completely different. I think that it's interesting that while we have similar experiences from like being in marching band, I took away from it really an importance of making creativity a part of my life.
Yeah, and it's also interesting for me because it wasn't the first thing that I thought about. For me, there was a much more salient experience that was associated with it. But when you say that about creativity, I of course think, well, yeah, that's true for me as well. But the more salient piece of my experience was all about just figuring out how to be a part of something, figuring out how not to be afraid and how to do things that push me out of my comfort zone. In particular, marching band doesn't do this as much as jazz band did, because everyone in a jazz band has to solo.
That's right. That's very true.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that there are parts where we share some things that are in common, and there are some things that are different. But we really reach across the differences to find that there's connection between the two of us.
Yeah, and I think it was important. We were talking earlier about how, some of the things that are similar in our background sort of draw us to one another. Mm-hmm. But when we realize what some of the differences in there, we sort of create a bit of a tapestry between ourselves, right? We're woven together in really interesting ways. And I think it's kind of a nice analogy for what we really want from you all as students, to find those connections with others and to create this tapestry of other students and mentors and that sort of thing on campus.
And I think that's exactly right. And this is an opportunity now for you all to connect with your colleagues in your classroom. So as you can see, we all experience change and challenge, and we also learn from these experiences and adapt to create a better way of living and learning. This is much like your first year of college. You're going to learn to adapt in this process. You can expect to experience change and challenge. How you respond to these changes is going to be key to your success. So at this point in time, we're turning it over to you. It's your turn. If you have your lifeline, again, bring it with you to class. While we will not have as much time as you did in college shape, sharing these lifelines will begin our introductions to each other as well. So congratulations. Welcome to your first week on campus.
Good luck.